Okay, last we left the party off, they had successfully retrieved the Aarakocra Scout K, returned him to the Matriarch, party got paid, party had a mixed opinion about how to deal with the dragon luring them further into her domain. Everyone made a reasonable choice. The party has since leveled up to level 8. And after enjoying their downtime recovering after having spent a 10-day out in the orc side of the Badlands, the party is called into the Adventurers Guild by Dogwood because they have a job specifically for them. Alright, so we have a job from the Druids, which, not the most common thing that happens because they're flat-ass broke. But apparently they already paid you in advance.
Very hard.
Yep.
Like, it does like the fist pound, like he's a champion. He's like, what do they need from the great dogs?
So they want you to find the Everspring Seed.
What in the world is that?
The exact details I don't know. It's some fey nonsense that the druids have some sort of say over. Something about purifying nature or something. Very hush-hush about it, but supposedly it's very powerful magic. It was lost hundreds of years ago, somewhere out in the Badlands. They do have a lead, though. There's a secret grotto called the Twilight Cradle in Desolation Valley. They recommend you go there, find a leaf from that grotto. That leaf will point in the direction of the Everspring Seed. You go to the location it's pointing at, you grab the seed, you take it back to the Twilight Cradle, and you leave it there for about an hour. It'll recharge itself, and then you bring it back to the druids. After which, apparently, they're going to have a further job for you.
Back to the Badlands.
Trailer asked what they paid in twigs and berries.
What?
They're druids.
No, they already paid us, remember?
Yeah. But he asked what they paid in.
What are you talking about?
Did they manage to pay in gold?
No, they paid you. They didn't pay me a damn thing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, do they pay in gold?
No, Brandon. They did us a favor, remember?
Oh, yeah.
They healed the bird.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's supposed to be a hush-hush.
Okay. All right.
To be fair, it's been longer for Brandon than it would have been for Kralar.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, what's the thing called? The grotto? It's called the Twilight what?
The Twilight Cradle in Desolation Valley.
We have to get a leaf.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know. Any leaf, or is it
any leaf?
Okay.
Yep, according to the druids, that any leaf from the grotto will point in the direction of where the seed is. If it's just like kind of left on its own, if you just hold it in the palm of your hand, it will like kind of lilt the tip towards the direction that the seed's in. Dogwood also recommends checking in on the nearby town of Desolation, which is actually pretty close to the Desolation Valley. He says that there chances are you're going to be going really close to Knoll territory, and based on what he's heard from the grapevine, there are some adventurers that are very experienced in hunting and defeating gnolls in the town of Desolation.
Well, that would be helpful.
So, with that being said, the party is free to make any last-minute preparations before they set out on their journey, as well as the question of, would the party like to travel along the main road, or would they like to beeline it through the Badlands once more?
Can Kralar copy some scrolls?
Yes, you could have copied some scrolls during your downtime.
I don't remember what scrolls we had. They're all water ones.
I'll double check.
Wall of water. And that was one. Create and destroy water.
Okay, it should have been water breathing, create and destroy water, control water, and wall of water.
Can he do wall? And
So if you can look up for yourself the gold cost for it, I'll say that if you just subtract the gold cost from it, I won't have you roll Arcana for it. You just subtract the gold and the time for it for this campaign, and you are able to copy the spells from a scroll to the book. But of course, the scroll will still be destroyed in the process.
Desolation is far as hell away.
Mm-hmm.
It's even farther than where we just were.
Oh yeah, it's very far south. But you know that the main road is relatively safe, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
each level of spell costs 20 gold and 2 hours. Okay, so wall of water is what? Third level? Third level, so
If each square on this map is like a day's travel, which I think you said, that would take us like more than a week to get there.
Yep.
I
And
still
we're
can't
supposed to
edit
go.
the
We're
gold
supposed to go
page.
right to the town. Does that take us right to the town?
If you travel along the main road, you'll eventually get to a little place called Bestershire, and from there it'll be a day's travel to Desolation village. Or like I say, you can just try and cut straight through the Badlands.
And how long would that take?
Cutting straight through the Badlands is more dangerous. It'll save you several days worth of travel. Or if you just want to take the extra time and travel the safe route through the main road, it'll take you. Let's see here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 days to get to Desolation.
I still can't mess with the gold page.
Just a sec. Everlands. Let's see here. Party cash. Settings. No, that's not the right one. Configure ownership. Brandon, owner. Sandy, owner. Jen, owner. Save changes. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. That works.
Okay. So really, overall, it's up to you guys. You had very little trouble going through the Badlands previously, and also, you guys had previously fought like 40 orcs, and they were pretty trivial.
Mhm.
So, honestly, at this point, because you guys are 8th level, it's more a matter of preference.
Kralar insists that they can battle their way through anything on the back of a giant ape knock, and that they should go straight through the Badlands. No wasting time on this silly mission for the druids.
I don't mind taking the safe route because it doesn't matter to me if it takes an extra days.
Sandra, sounds like you might be the tiebreaker.
Hello?
Hi. I'm thinking. Do we want to take the safe route or do we want to take our chances and go through the Badlands?
Yes.
Yes, what? Safe? Or take our chances? Heads or tails? Heads or tails?
Tails.
We're gonna flip
Yeah.
for it.
Through the Badlands, why not? We need an adventure.
Okay. So, the party makes a cut straight through the Badlands. They run into various monsters out there, between giant centipedes, sturges, raving orc band. At one point, when the party is camping out under the stars, during Betty's turn to take watch, she does hear some mumbling from a nearby ridge. It sounds like 3 people are having a conversation. Would Betty like to go investigate?
Sure. I'd like to go stealthily and investigate.
Okay. Please roll stealth.
I gotta find my sheet. Hold on. There we are. Okay. Screen's too small.
There's a town called Badass.
Oh, yeah.
We should-
Okay, just a sec while I roll his... Okay, that is a 7 that he rolled. So, he does not notice you as you sneak over the ridge and you spy a single orc by himself. The conversation is being held between him and his 2 sock puppets.
Oh my god. Pretty good socks.
Probably from raided loot.
Dead child sucks.
Well, they're pretty big socks as they're fitting over orc hands.
Yeah, that's true.
The dead man socks.
Yeah. Some lazy guy that didn't feel like fleeing the village. He's like, whatever.
We don't need the victim blame here.
Do I notice anything else or any other creatures around this guy? Or is this guy like camped? Is he camped with a fire?
No, just sitting out there by the ridge, just completely by himself. No camp supplies like anywhere that you can see.
Okay. And what time of night is this? I mean, obviously it's night, but is it?
Yeah, it's pretty much in the middle of the night.
Okay.
What's he saying?
They're having a pretty trivial conversation between the 3 of them. The orc himself is trying to be the straight man, which is really hard to come across because he's an orc, so he's not much brighter than the 2 socks. But they are. He's apparently trying to do a comedy routine.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Funny. See, I don't.
Maybe his tribe has a talent night and he's practicing.
Yeah.
Or nobody else can see him.
I really don't feel like I need to bother him if he's just like there by himself. And just maintain his location throughout the night.
Hmm. Yeah, you're because you now know that he's here. You're able to like keep an eye on him like stealthily.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he at no point ever bothers you. We can say that this will be like towards the later half of the night. So like as dawn starts to approach, he puts the socks into his pouch. He gets up and he just walks off. never comes anywhere close to your camp.
I think he just needed some me time.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'll just let the group know that there was an orc who was entertaining himself with a pair of socks.
Ew,
And we'll just leave it at that. He was having a puppet show.
Oh, okay. Just a lonely orc losing his marbles.
Yep, exactly.
Mm.
He didn't want to be ridiculed by his fellow orcs. Tribesmen.
If he didn't want to be judged, he wouldn't have done it here because I'm judging.
Well, you weren't there, so
Yeah.
we'll just let him go. Okay, move on.
All right. On eventually cutting through the main trail, continuing on their way south, and then eventually they do come to. They can see off to the side is the valley, so you know that should be Desolation Valley. And if you keep heading southwards, you can hit the town of Desolation. It's up to the party whether or not they just rather beeline it straight towards the grotto to get the leaf, or if they want to make the stop off in the town.
Who is in the town that can help us? Or a tracker? What did you say? A tracker?
Adventurers who are well versed in taking care of gnolls.
Gnolls. How bad is a gnoll? Are gnolls badasses? Does anybody know?
Gnolls are currently the guys who are at war with the orcs to the north.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do we
they're
know
like weird
anything about gnolls?
human badger things.
Yeah, you can actually roll a history check to see what you know about gnolls.
Didn't we fight gnolls?
Hmm?
Didn't we fight gnolls?
I don't believe you fought gnolls yet.
I have crappy history.
Baldur's Gate.
That's mine. And I want knock to
Oh
roll.
no. Told him that one.
And a history check
And beat us all with a +0.
for knock.
I might have had a +8.
Oh, knock got 17.
There you go.
Okay. So, Betty and Kralar, you guys would know superficially what you actually would have heard about gnolls. Agate, hey, this is something that your family would have talked about. There is like this ancient tome about dealing with like various monsters that passed around as like common education for dwarves. There is a chapter on gnolls in that one. Nock, having been from this region, having interacted with and socialized with the orcs to the north, would absolutely know about the gnolls to the south. So, gnolls are bipedal hyena people that stand between 7 and 8 feet tall.
Okay. How tall? 7 to 8 feet.
Yes. Yes, they are shockingly big.
You told them. Speed.
Do they travel in
So,
groups?
Betty and Krill are basically the main gist of that you know is that there's a separation between two different types of gnolls. You have the civilized gnolls that, hey, these guys were like always part of Backwater. They may have been tribalistic at one time. The Amsharan Empire kind of scooped them up and like threw them into civilization. These guys now wear suits. They have jobs. They're no different from pretty much any other humanoid that you could interact with. The other type of gnoll, the one that you're very likely going to fight, are the fiendish gnolls. These guys are fiendish. Like fiends, like demons, devils, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I just didn't hear you.
Alright. The fiendish gnolls, these guys are savage monsters. They are marauders. They kill, they consume, they leave nothing in their wake. Something that Agate and Nock both know is that it is a battle of numbers for them, generally. This is what their tactic is they swarm their enemies with superior numbers. They don't generally have much in the way of tactics. These guys are not super intelligent. Some of their leaders might have like at least common sense, but for the most part, like these guys are just savage. These guys are like would have like pink foam coming from their mouth because they'll whip themselves into such a battle frenzy that they'll bite their tongue, just chomping at the bit, getting ready to fight.
Ugh.
Nock would know that these guys don't make their own weapons. Any ones that do have weapons is salvaged from whatever place that they raided. Also, Nock would know that these guys more prone to summoning demons than most other monsters.
Attack
That's terrifying.
during battle, they'll summon a demon.
More so, they'll tend to summon a demon during camp, during downtime, when they actually have the time to perform the ritual and perform a sacrifice to Yinagu, the demon prince that they worship, that they spawn from. And Yinagu, in exchange, will send them a demon to help them in their next raid.
If we happen upon a gang, there's a possibility they're accompanied by a demon.
Certainly possible, yes.
And I'm assuming this demon is going to be easily identifiable against the gnolls. Like,
Yes.
it's not going to look like another gnoll.
Correct. Yeah, so the gnolls will look like really big bipedal hyenas. Gnolls are constantly surrounded by hyenas as part of like their pack when they go into raid somewhere. If they are accompanied by a demon, that thing will stand out like a sore thumb.
Okay.
It will not look anything remotely like the rest of the pack.
Okay. Well, I'm going to cast my vote and say we go get help. Since these adventurers might be familiar with the gnolls that are in the area. And then I put it up for vote.
Raylar votes that as soon as he gets to the town, he goes and has a beer.
I'd have a beer.
All right, so Kraylar and Agate are for going to town, but mainly for a beer.
And the
Okay.
friends we meet along the way.
All right. So we're going into town.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the party goes into the town of Desolation. As you approach the town, you do hear the rhythmic sound of hammering, sawing, construction. As you approach it closer, it seems that repairs are being done by gnolls.
Whoa.
You're immediately taken aback by the fact that these guys, contrary to like what you would have like assumed of the savage gnolls, these guys are actually performing repairs, and you're momentarily taken aback because like they're scantily clad as you would expect the savage gnolls to be, but then it's like, oh, these guys are construction workers, like, and they're furry. They're not going to be wearing that many clothes when they're doing hard labor. And so as you're like approaching the town, you realize like, oh yeah, these guys are the civilized gnolls. But the thing is, most other towns you go to have like this wide swath of diversity. There's only gnolls in this town that you're seeing.
But they're all civilized, from what we can tell.
Yeah,
So
the fact that they're not like snarling and trying to attack you, like some of them will like to look in your general direction, like give us a friendly wave, a big toothy smile, a bit of a nod, just like sup.
Okay.
Is it like a lot of construction going on? Like a lot of repairs on like a bunch of different buildings?
Mm-hmm. All throughout the town.
Wonder if there was a battle.
Yeah, we should ask somebody to make a check. I don't know what kind of check that would be. Feel like, was this like a natural disaster, or was it from like a battle? Or we could just
That
ask
will
them.
be a perception check for you. Okay, yeah. due to like as you're looking around, because you have the idea of like maybe battle, maybe natural disaster, you do see scorch marks on some places, and also some smashed windows. You do see some remnants of blood kind of like across multiple buildings, so this was definitely a battle.
Uh, do we see
We
a
should
tavern?
go and ask what happened.
We should.
All right. You just walk up to a random knoll doing construction, and you ask them. So the guy says, like, battle with the savage folk out to the east. Happens from time to time. Fortunately, we don't really live here most of the time. We're just patching this place up to make it look like a juicy enough target for the adventurers in town to take care of them.
Oh wow, that's a good plan.
So what
Also
type of savages were they?
The Knolls. This is very, very close to Knoll territory.
The savage? Okay, the savage gnolls. Do you all not get along?
Oh, absolutely not. No. We're part of the original people who are here from Black Backwater, born and raised native to the lands.
Oh.
Then, one day, yeah, I don't suppose you've heard the legend of the splintering of the Knolls back in the day, have you?
No.
No.
So he kind of gets off his ladder, he sits down, and like he pants a little bit. It's not something that most Knolls are proud to talk about, but this is an important piece of history for our kind, so... Our people were hunters. We were generally nomadic. It was what our culture was based around. Then the Emsharan Empire came through and started rounding up all the humanoid monsters. Orcs, Knolls, and the like. They slapped us into civilization. Orcs generally took care of it just fine because they're fighters, they're warriors. The Emsharan Empire still had plenty to conquest. They signed up immediately for a good scrap. At least any ones who didn't resist and then died trying to fight the Emsharan Empire. Most Knolls, we signed up. The few that didn't, rather than fighting and dying, they scattered out to the winds. And rather than just slowly dying off in the small shadows of the tribes that they were, they made a call out. Not to the ancient gods that we used to worship back in the day, but something more tangible. The demon prince Yinagu. And that's what got his influence clawhold into the land of Backwater. And that's where the first of the fiendish Knolls came from. They may look like us, but mentally, they are not a thing like us. They have no interest in talking, they only kill. They give the rest of us a bad name. That's one of the reasons why I and some of my mates are out here trying to help the adventurers to take care of these guys. They're not only a plague on everyone, including us, but like I said, they give us a bad name.
Okay. So we have a quest to go into the Twilight Cradle.
Never heard of it.
Well, we're pretty much going into the Savage Lands. And is there anybody that we can talk to that could maybe provide us assistance?
Aye, I talked to the Knoll Slayers out over in the tavern. They're the ones out here, they're the experts in killing Knolls. I'd ask them for advice.
Yep. Off to the tavern we go.
Yep.
So it's not a completely decoy city, there's at least a bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what was your name, by the way?
Limp Richard.
Well, we're the dorks. Nice to meet you.
Oh, I've heard of ya. That's impressive. I hear about the adventurers of Kalona all the way this far down south. You've done impressive work. The name travels.
Thank you. Well, we hope we can help you out as well.
Oh, most certainly. You being here sounds like a good omen. And yeah, if there's nothing else, I'll just get right back to
Yeah.
construction.
Yep. Thank you. Have a great day. Let's go get a beer.
All right. So, party heads to the tavern, and yeah, so there is the tavern keeper, who is a gnoll, and there's 3 gnolls who are just by themselves sitting at the tables. Based on their dress, you can tell that these guys are not civilians. These 3 gnolls are absolutely adventurers.
Why? Because they're strapped.
Hmm?
Like, how would you tell? Just like the way they're dressed, I guess.
Yeah, they're dressed in better clothes. They're more heavily armed and armored. The one in particular is like definitely wearing custom-made heavy suit of armor, because gnolls have this bit of a hunch to them. If you've ever seen like a gnoll picture, so typically like what a suit of armor, if you build it for a bigger, bulkier fella, it would probably fit a half orc or a large human just fine. You might have to take it in a little bit for a dwarf. Gnolls have a very distinct, unique hunch to their back. So this heavily armored one definitely had to put out some coin to get the armor especially made for his body type. The other one seems to be dressed in robes, and the other one is playing a lute. So you can assume that the one is a warrior of some kind, possibly a fighter or paladin. One might be a sorcerer due to the robes and lack of a book, and the other guy might be a bard.
Sorry, Bill. Okay. Shall we go over and introduce ourselves?
Yeah, let's go introduce ourselves. And we'll, introductions. We'll start telling them about our mission.
All right. So, the 3 of them, the one in the heaviest suit of armor introduces himself as Adam. The one playing the lute introduces himself as Argyle. And the sorcerer introduces himself as Iliad. These guys are the Gnoll Hunters. These guys, they're the Gnoll Slayers.
So Iliad was sorcerer, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Or
Raylar asked them if they got the name because of their race or because of who they kill.
The answer is yes.
fair enough.
He orders a round of drinks for everyone, including the little hunters.
Alright, they cheers to that. So, what brings the famous dorks out here?
We're here to kill your kind, but the savages.
No, we're not here to kill anybody unless they try to kill us.
That's not our mission. Kraylar, shut the hell up. We might run into some.
We might run into some. So we're looking to get to the Twilight Cradle Grotto. I believe, what is it? A day's journey from here?
Yeah, somewhere in the valley in a day's travel.
It's somewhere in the valley, and we were wondering if we could possibly get an escort from experts in the field of gnolls, the savage gnolls.
Yeah, have you heard of Twilight Valley? Because the other guy we talked to didn't know where that was. Never heard of it.
So Iliad says that he is familiar with the Twilight Cradle. It's a little grotto, like nestled somewhere deep in Desolation Valley. He can give you a good idea on your map as to where it is in the valley.
Mm-hmm.
But the 3 of them are saying is like, yeah, we're not really in a position to give you guys an escort, because the thing is, like, the gnolls are not going to wait necessarily for them to be 100% ready, so they need to stay in town all the time and just wait for gnolls to come and attack them.
Mm-hmm.
What if we help you take out the stronghold?
So the thing is, like, there is one stronghold that they know of. And that's very suspicious to them because gnolls don't usually work in terms of stronghold. They are nomadic. They're constantly on the move.
Well, I figured because of the war, they would have some kind of stronghold.
No.
Yeah, they're like roving bands of like Mad Max style.
Yeah, this is a constant problem with gnolls is the fact that they're constantly on the move. They're very hard to pin down. I did skip over this, but so the tactic that was taught amongst the dwarves for if you suspect that there's gnolls in the vicinity, send out scouts to the nearby villages. Any scout you don't hear back from, there's gnolls in the area.
Damn.
Jesus, there's gotta be a better way to do that.
Unfortunately, there's not. So the usual case for dwarves is, okay, so now we know for a fact there's gnolls in the area. Time to, like, hunker down, bunker up. Gnolls ain't getting past our stone walls. So we just have to hope that either they starve themselves out and move on after they take care of all the nearby villages, or a roving band of adventurers takes care of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, these guys are not like a military force like you might expect from orcs or hobgoblins. These guys are just basically a plague of sorts.
Okay. So, can you tell us, do they send scouts out?
Yes, they absolutely send scouts out to like scout out a potential target for a raid. So definitely keep an eye out for those guys.
Okay. That's what I was worried about.
I want to ask them if they've had any experience with their demons that they call upon. They wouldn't. Oh, is it working? I figure Inagu probably isn't the one with them. They're just like praying to him, and he's sending out, or they're doing a ritual, and he's sending out other demons.
Generally, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I want to ask them if they've ever battled any demons.
So yes, they do have experience with fighting some of the demons. Just a sec while I scroll down to look at the demons that they usually encounter. Okay. So, fortunately, they have not seen Yinagu. But Yinagu does have a chance of showing up. They've heard legends. Other demons generally don't show up on the material plane because they got their own shit to worry about. They got their own plans to take care of. Yinagu's not a schemer, he's not a planner, he just loves butchering people. So, if like the right circumstances are met, Yinagu will show up on the material plane, fight alongside his gnolls as he carves through village after city after whatever until he's eventually put down and sent back to the abyssal plane.
Do you know anybody that we can talk to that might be interested in going with us?
The three of them kind of chuckles themselves as like, no.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys are like, we know about you guys. You guys are some of the higher, like, more noteworthy adventurers in the country right now. So most of the people, if anyone was crazy enough to go out into the Badlands, they'd be asking you for help.
Okay. Do you have any suggestion on what is the easiest way to kill these guys?
And
Or
how
what
do
has
you
been
put
your
that?
experience?
So
Fruitful.
for gnolls in general, they look at the wizard as like, I assume you know something like Fireball. Just do something to thin their numbers as fast as possible. Also, if you can find a way to bottleneck them, a way of like, and it's like basically you guys have seen the movie 300, like get them through a narrow passageway so that way their superior numbers are like aren't necessarily in their favor. They can't make full use of it. The gnolls will pass by a heavily armored opponent to get to the squishy ones in the back, because again, it's a numbers game for them. They know that they can kill the squishier ones easier and dwindle the numbers. They're not really, they're not necessarily thinking about like, oh, this guy might have magic to protect him, or like we should probably prioritize him just because he's the guy who's tossing out fireball. No, he's the guy who has more squishy spots exposed.
I don't think you got armor neither, lady.
I think I got some leather or something done.
Yeah, you got some light armor.
All right, well, let not
I do have a big ass cat next to me.
follow up the back.
Mm-hmm.
I have magic armor on.
So, can you show us on the map any places where like we would be able to do this bottlenecking, like that's a more narrow passageway? Because we would probably want to avoid that because they could probably attack us in that area as well.
So the thing is, like, they do point out that the grotto is like in a cave,
Right.
so you could use the cave to like funnel them in.
Okay.
The canyon, a little bit less so. That's a little bit more wide open. Their main advice is don't fight them in the open plains. They will surround you and just maul you.
Okay. All right.
So of the demons that they mention is gnolls sometimes have allies, not often, because of just they're savage marauders.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time, what they work alongside is either one of the handful of monsters that is of a very similar mindset to them, like trolls and ghouls, where these guys are just mindless munchers too. Or sometimes, yes, they will summon up demons. They'll make mention of Lucrotas, which are like these demon hyenas. Really weird looking guys. They'll make mention of like Dretches, which are like these very minor demons. Maw demons, which, hey, this is a demon with a gigantic mouth on his head. He's a little squat little bastard. He looks weird. They'll describe it like if you see like this big white canine looking creature, it's like, okay, that's a Shisuva. Maybe avoid fighting those guys. Fortunately, like most tribes are not going to have like this wide variety of demons. So like, if you pop up against, if you go into a tribe, you happen to see, oh yeah, that looks like that maw demon they described. Cool, so they probably don't have a Shisuva then. They just have that squat little bastard. Also, they will bring up the Gnoll Witherlings. Which, just a sec while I bring up those guys. So, in the event that a warband goes for weeks without coming across prey of some sort, gnolls can eat wild animals for sustenance, but only the flesh of intelligent humanoids can calm the endless hunger bestowed upon them by Yeenoghu. When a warband grows desperate for food, its members turn on each other. Those who succumb to the violence are devoured, but their services to the warband doesn't end at that point. The survivors preserve the bones of their fallen comrades so that a pack lord or Flind can perform a ritual to Yeenoghu to turn them into a loyal undead follower known as a Witherling. Basically, a skeleton warrior, Gnoll.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but of a bunch of gnolls. Like, how big is this thing?
It's probably the same size.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, like, if you were fighting an army and then, like, they just decide to resurrect some of their dead soldiers as skeletons. It's kind of the same thing. That's just what they do.
Oh, it's just a bunch. I was thinking that all the bones went together into one big boy.
Nope. It's just a Gnoll Witherling is just a single Gnoll skeleton that is up and back into fighting fit spirit. Not quite as strong as a regular Gnoll, but the thing is, again, numbers game for these guys.
Yeah.
And the last bit of information that they will give you is that some packs don't have a leadership. Some just kind of don't need it. Some of them have a pack lord. That's just the biggest, strongest, and possibly smartest Gnoll that, yeah, this guy survived the most battles. They got respect. They got promoted. Then you have a Flind. A Flind is a couple feet taller. They have a 3-headed whip. That whip is empowered by Yinagu himself. This Flind is a Gnoll that was chosen by Yinagu to receive his blessing. If that thing falls in battle, if someone picks up that 3-headed flail, they will become the new Flind of that pack. So, Flinds, scary, really big deal. They make the Gnolls around them stronger. So, ideally, avoid fighting a pack that has a Flind as a leader. But if you happen to find one, probably have the wizard focus on like fireballing the horde, while anyone who's good on 1v1 single target damage, try and take out that Flind as soon as possible and make sure no other Gnoll picks up that flail.
Yeah.
How easy is to sneak past these guys? Do they have like really good sense of smell, or do they have exceptional hearing?
Their hearing's pretty decent, but they do have a pretty solid sense of smell.
Okay.
As they point to themselves as like, yeah, so Argyle here has snuck into a camp before, but he had to cover himself in viscera.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's like if you can visually pass yourself off as one, more importantly is if you smell like one of them.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, if you look like one, if you smell like one, and you just don't draw attention to yourself, they probably won't like pay you any mind.
Okay.
What's viscera?
Gore.
Oh, gross.
Yeah.
Yep.
Internals.
Yeah, we're talking Walking Dead type shit.
So one more question. Like this tribe, are they noisy? Are they like, will we be able to hear them from a distance or smell them from a distance? How will we know that we're coming up on a pack of these guys?
So the thing is, like, if you've managed to avoid any of their scouts, yeah, okay, you can probably see some smoke rising up if they've set up camp there for the day. Depending on like how much food they've brought back to their location, yeah, you can probably smell them. If they're hooping and hollering, especially if they just recently got like a demon summoned to them, yeah, you can hear them. But if a scout caught sight of you and was able to make it back and warn the tribe will go silent and either lie in wait for you or immediately mobilize to go after you.
Phew. I think we should try to track some scouts first. I want to know if they've defeated a demon and how the hell do you do that? Do you just beat the shit out of them like anybody else?
For the most part,
way that you have to send them back to hell.
Yeah, by kicking their ass.
Oh, okay.
yeah, generally, like if you do enough damage to their physical form, they will turn into a black ichor and their essence will immediately be shunted back to the abyss. It's not dead, it's just going to have to reform back there. Which generally is kind of the best you can hope for. If you have a cleric, that's great. Otherwise, yeah, he kind of looks over your party and is like, yeah, you seem like a very secular party, so beating the shit out of the demon might be your best bet.
If they don't have a leader, Trailer's going to try to thin out the numbers while we go for the biggest, most fucked up dude, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You got a game plan?
You do.
So do you think they'll bring another scout back here
Yeah.
while you guys are in repair?
So the thing is, like, it is certainly possible that they could bring a scout. They point to Argos, like he has the alarm spell up surrounded the town,
Mhm.
so he'll be alerted if a scout comes into the vicinity. But yeah, so they are keeping an eye out for scouts. So if a scout does come by, it's like, okay, we're gonna let him report back because we want these guys coming, but we want to know ahead of time that they're coming, so we can have the civilians get out, and we ourselves prepare for them coming in.
Can
Or
you
if there's
put
a way to
scout on us?
scout back.
Hmm?
I wonder if there's a way to track a scout back to their if they're going back to the stronghold or whatever.
I mean, you have the ability to track him. If you can get a lead on a scout, you can track his trail back there. The tricky part is finding one of the scouts in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay. You wouldn't happen to be able to put a spell on us so that we could sense or protect us from a scout?
Probably not. But based on your past experience, you know that Agate does have Pass Without Trace.
Okay.
So, you won't be alerted to a scout watching you, but at the very least, like, you'll be able to sneak past a scout, so he just won't notice you guys to report you.
Okay. And is it safe to take out one of the scouts?
Absolutely. If you can see a scout, absolutely take him out ASAP.
Okay. Because I didn't know if they kept count of who was out scouting, and if they didn't come back, would they send out reinforcements?
Nope, they're not quite that intelligent.
Okay, good.
Alright.
All right, what time of day is it? Do we need to take a rest? Get
Yeah,
a good
this is
meal?
about midday, around noon time, so
Okay.
you guys can
Days
push forward and
travel?
like make camp outside town as you're heading towards the valley if you'd prefer.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. We have a general area marked on the map of where we should be going now.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Alright. So with that one, the party can set up camp. You can rest in the safety of the tiny hut. The party continues a long way through the Desolation Valley. Eventually, in roughly the area that was marked on the map for you, you do find a cave that eventually you guys do decide to go in, and Betty, in particular, realizes that, well, Betty and Kralar specifically recognize like a lot of elven architecture. Betty, in particular, realized that there's a heavy Fey influence in the architecture.
Hmm.
So it wasn't just like this wasn't just like an elven like temple or settlement thing. This was specifically made by elves to have something to do with the Fae.
Hmm. Okay.
And then who else would make a fake cave?
So should I do like intelligence check? History check?
Uh,
Do I need or a perception check?
yeah, perception, arcana, history, depending on like what you want to find out about this place.
I'd like to know if there's any traps inside to begin with.
That might be insight.
What if I use detect magic? Could I tell if like something was summoned from this in this area?
You can cast detect magic ritually.
Yeah, I used detect magic to see if this was like a actual like ritual spot or.
So the magic here is stronger than is ambient, so this is a very magical site. You don't really know the exact kind of magic. It doesn't fall under any particular school. So, as if according to with Betty's words, like This probably had this did serve a magical purpose of some sort that was related to the Fae. The exact purpose, you're not sure.
All right. So should we go in under stealth to check it out, or do we do an investigation? Huh?
Aren't we already inside the cave?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Is this where we find a leaf and do the thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You see some trees, which, hey, this is inside a cave. It's very odd to see trees in here, but the trees seem alive, even if not in the best shape. You can easily pluck a relatively fresh leaf off of one of them, and as you hold it in your hand, it does start to spin a little bit and like point towards the in an easterly direction.
So points. So we can stay inside the cave and follow, or do we have to go outside of the cave?
If you try and follow the beeline to where the leaf is falling, you hit a wall.
Okay.
So it might be best if you just leave the place, maybe leave the canyon overall, and then see if you can't re-find your bearings.
I was gonna say it for
All right. So the party leaves the grotto. They leave the cave. They leave the canyon. They travel in the direction that the leaf is pointing. I'd like for everyone to make a group perception check.
And how long does it take us to get out of that cave and grotto?
It doesn't take too long to get out of that cave. It does have a relatively long passageway, but it's like it only takes like a handful of minutes to like traverse.
Okay, but outside the cave, like how far did we travel?
What do you mean between the valley?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the valley would have been about 2 days of travel to get out of the canyon.
Oh, okay.
So, Sandra, would you like to burn your inspiration to re-roll that natural one?
Instead of paying attention, she had to stop the tire shoe at the wrong moment.
My perception is I never roll good on this perception.
Yeah, you have a +0.
All right. So the party manages to succeed on their perception check. They are able to spot a lone scout is keeping an eye on them. Because the party was able to get a bead on him, they are able to jump him and take him out before he can retreat and report back.
5.
And use that sharpshooter.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Following the path that the leaf is pointing at, you do eventually come to the stronghold of the gnolls that was mentioned. The very unusual stronghold.
God damn it.
And for clarity, if the party gets the bright idea of like, it was pointing at the wall previously, this thing's only pointing in a straight line. If you try to like walk around the stronghold safely, the leaf turns and points towards the stronghold.
So it doesn't matter if we walk a full circle around it, it's still going to point to the stronghold.
Yes. So now you know for certain the seed is in that stronghold.
Exactly where we were told not to go.
Yep.
Well, who's sneaking in? hate you. Find you some guts.
Yeah, I'll say that the party has a number of options. I'm just curious as to what options they would like to take, so I can prepare that for a next session.
Okay, guys. Do we want to go in guns blazing? Do we want to try to take them? Do we want to try to wrangle them into like what kind of environment are we in right now?
Yeah,
Is
is
this
it like a
wide
giant
open
wall
space?
surrounding them?
So, as you guys have traveled all throughout the Badlands, you have spent like weeks out in the Badlands between both Orc and Old territory. There's a lot of dry, open plains. There are some rocks to recover. There are some shallow canyons of various size. The deepest one being the Desolation Valley that you guys came from, but that one is still like miles wide. So not really a choke point necessarily. Any possible choke point that you have found, it is possible with a sizable enough horde that they could try and go simultaneously both through the chokehold and around the sides to circle you from the other side.
So chokehold is not an option.
Not in the area you're at right now, which might explain why the gnolls are in this area.
Well, what's their camp setup look like? Can I send my bird overhead and
You certainly can.
yeah, scout it out?
Yep. Just one sec. Oh damn! What's your bird's AC?
16.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. Apparently, the gnolls do take notice of it, and some arrows come flying towards your bird, but they miss. They rolled a 14, a 3, and a 15.
Okay, so they have arrows.
Mm. Yeah, I'll say that the scout you killed had a bow and arrow. So
Okay. So they're just shooting at the bird, not because they're suspicious of it, just because they want to kill it and possibly eat it.
and based on what you know about gnolls, that's a reasonable assumption. Yeah.
Okay.
But do they have walls built up? Like,
Yeah.
what's that?
So this does look like an old human fortification of some sort. Definitely a military fort. It is fallen into disrepair. It's not as sturdy as it once was. If a decently sized army came through with siege weapons, this thing would be rolled over within a day. But you guys aren't an army with a siege weapon. And
Well, what about if I shatter the wall?
you probably could.
We could probably just sneak in through.
No, I can turn Naja into a giant eagle that you can then ride into battle. For this embarkment, I come up to the back, knock as my back as my defense, and I shatter the wall. And we just siege this place, take down the wall, kill dozens of gnolls with it alone.
Well, how the hell are we gonna find this little fucking thing that we're supposed to look for?
You have a giant eagle, and you'll take the leaf.
I don't think a siege is the most reasonable.
No, Greenlar wants to burn it to the ground. He said he is a one-man siege.
Can the bird tell how many gnolls are there? Or you can't because they might be indoors.
Yeah.
Jennifer, how good at specifically how good at scouting is your bird? Like, can you see through its eyes, or Is it
Don't
capable of
think-
math?
She's able to interact with it somehow. Hold on. But I don't think it's quite good enough as, like, seeing through its eyes or nothing.
I mean, it's probably smart enough I could talk to it.
Yeah, I'm just not. I don't know what its stats are offhand.
What stats? You need stats from the bird?
Yeah.
Yeah, like how intelligent it is. Does it know any languages that it can communicate with you?
It knows none of those. Where is her, like, primal bond? I don't see it on her page, though.
All right. One sec. Bringing up the subclass. Let's see here.
say you-
Ranger. Beastmaster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Beastmaster.
All right. Let's see here. Primal Companion. Okay. So I'll say that because it at least has an intelligence of 8, it should be capable enough to communicate that it sees a lot of gnolls in there.
So, what did the three guys say about the adventures? What did they say about the stronghold?
They said that it is very unusual for gnolls to hold up in a stronghold, especially for any length of time because they are nomadic. They're constantly on the move. So this right here, very unusual. They don't know what the hell's going on with this place, and the fact that these gnolls are acting like so like distantly out of character, that concerns them. So they're like, yeah, generally you don't want to be fighting like an army of gnolls anyway. Gnolls in a heavily fortified position, also probably not a good idea. Especially because, like, hey, other gnolls out in the open, you can see their entire force. You know what they're dealing with. You don't know what the heck's in that place.
And obviously they wouldn't be willing to come back with us to fight these guys.
Right, because their interest is in protecting that town. Because they set up that town to look like a juicy target. And if gnolls come by and attack that place, when they're not there to protect it necessarily, they'll just destroy it and move on and just use that as like a gateway to other actually populated villages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could be like Inagu himself, but you said that he was just mainly about like chaos and bloodshed, so he wouldn't
Right.
just be like hanging out up top for extended periods of time.
Yeah, based on what you've heard about Yinagu, he wouldn't be doing this, but
Mhm.
again, this is out of character for them, so you don't know why they're doing this.
Something's influencing them.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know how we should approach this. Should we coerce them out one by one? Be like, hey, big boy over here, and then whack.
It sounds like, so if I blow a hole in the wall, they'll start coming at me through the hole in the wall, and that'll funnel them. And I just like, wham, wham. Start zapping and burning people with knock up front. Just
You don't think we should try to sneak in? And at least find where the thing is before we get a battle plan going?
I think we should try to sneak in first. Because maybe we can find us some information about why they're in this stronghold, what's keeping them there.
that's true. And only you, I think, can make it in. You'd have to go right over yourself in blood and poop. I think you have disguise self, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and she knows what they look like now.
Yeah.
Can I speak Knoll? Do they speak common?
Knowles. Let's see. Double checking.
Just run. He was saying, right? The other ones.
Yeah, they're not much for talking.
Yeah, they're just like right.
Well, they have to be able to communicate somehow.
Let's see
Yeah.
here. Knoll language. The language of Knolls, such as it is, consists of whines, cackles, and howls mixed with gestures and expressions. Knolls use it to communicate only basic concepts such as an alert about approaching prey or a call to their allies to join the fray. When Knolls fight amongst themselves, they rarely bother with threats or words before leaping at each other's throats. When Knoll leaders must share complex concepts with each other, they use a broken form of Abyssal gifted to them by Yinagu.
What's an abyssal?
Abyssal is the language of the demons.
Oh,
So pretty much they just kind of grunt and like point, like point that way. And it's like there's dudes.
Yeah,
That's it.
if you sneak in there and you bump into somebody, they're probably gonna immediately go for your throat. So yeah,
That's my whole
you're,
thing
you're
is
just not trying to make it.
are they
if you
that
piss them
hostile?
off, they're gonna maul you.
You're just trying to not. Yeah, you're just trying to be sneaky. Again.
Yeah.
Are they that hostile towards each other?
Yeah.
Towards
sounds
each
like
other,
it.
not necessarily.
That's why I'm thinking you
It's
sneak
only
in
when
as
they get
one-
hungry.
Yeah, if they've gone for extended periods of time, but as far as you can tell, like these guys are probably well off because they haven't made the effort to leave this place.
Okay.
They're staying there
Alright.
for a reason.
Yeah, so based on what you know about the Knolls from the other adventurers, is you can try sneaking in through invisibility. A more gruesome but probably more effective method might be to disguise yourself as a Knoll and then mask your scent with Viscera,
Okay.
and then just kind of keep your head down.
Yeah.
And scout out that way.
Right.
Yeah, sneaking in is an option. Going in guns blazing, you can try that. Trying to lure them out of the stronghold, you can try that. Those are the three options that come to my mind based on what you guys have said.
Okay. So if the god guy is in there, will he be able to detect magic?
Yinagu?
Or that I'm not an old.
Just chilling in there.
He'd probably detect you, but also, I'd like for you to roll a quick religion check. And also, this will be open to Kralar too. Okay, with the 24, you guys are close enough to the stronghold that unless Yinagu was hypothetically deep underground, like Underdark deep, that would be a demon prince on the material plane. You would be able to sense that malevolence.
Okay.
Like, it would be like this thick, heavy miasma in the air.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're pretty sure he's not there on the surface.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing is, like, they made mention of, like, hey, it's possible, but fuck if that's ever, like, happened within living memory.
Okay.
Legend. They were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, on top of which, like, other demon princes are able to keep, like, a relatively low profile, even if they make an appearance on the material plane, which they rarely do. Yinagu is not known for being subtle.
I'm going in undercover.
Alright.
So that's what we're doing next week.
Yep. Okay, so next week, Betty will be going in undercover. Alright, everybody say bye to Craig.
Bye, Craig.
Bye.
Craig.